I want to welcome you to the 17th Annual Hall of Champions induction ceremony. My name is Randy Tutorp. I am not only proud, thank you, but also extremely humbled to be here before you. This is a very special night because we are able to once again talk about our rich Viking athletic traditions. Specifically, we are here to induct 8 outstanding individuals involved with LBCC athletics. This is truly a special evening. Memories come to life with stories and energy from the past. The Viking spirit will fill the room as experiences are shared, and we will be reminded of our credo. Once a Viking, always a Viking. Thank you, Greg. To begin this evening, please direct your attention to the main entrance so we can welcome those honorees or representatives who could attend as they take their seats. We call this our Parade of Champions. Our first inductee to enter the water here in the Catalina Room. Please welcome Sia Cobb. How about a round of applause for Sia? Next up, hard-hitting baseball standout Vern Followell. Is there a doctor in the house representing both cross-country and track and field? Let's welcome Dr. Richard Graves. Another tremendous two-sport athlete from football and track. How about a big round of applause for Mark Robin? Walking in for Mark, we have student athlete Jacob Belton. Our next inductee has a lot of support here this evening. How about a little noise for another heavy hitter from football, Derek Santaford. A man that spent more than 2 decades supporting all Viking athletes. Let's give it up for Dr. Grant Uba. Our next inductee, a LBCC women's volleyball great, Christian Wintris. Christian is represented tonight by women's volleyball student athlete, Emma Pearson. Our final inductee, teacher, father, and coach, Jim Murphy. Represented by his son, Jim Jr. Welcome to all of our inductees for the class of 2022. Let's give them all another well-earned round of applause. This is the first year that we have hosted this event off campus. A special part of our past ceremonies has always been the nostalgia of walking in the Hall of Champions and feeling the history. Since we could not be there in the hall, we decided to bring the hall to you. We hope you enjoy this video.
Welcome to the Long Beach City College Hall of Champions. More than an award, it serves as a monument to some of the greatest to ever compete as Vikings.
One of the things that pleases me the most is to know that all of our past athletes can come into this beautiful historic gymnasium and walk into this. It's like a museum, and it brings back tremendous memories. Initial conversations had to be with Dr. Beverly O'Neill, because the college had a Hall of Fame. And in that Hall of Fame, we had 11 great past athletes from City College. And so I suggested to her we create a Hall of Champions. And so she went ahead and blessed that, and we began. The foundation came in with matching funds, and we had about 80 original donors. 2 or 3 of the more major ones were Dr. Castrobar, our longtime team doctor, and Sam Hernandez, who was very involved here in facilities. And so they were 2 of our major donors. So that gave us the money that we needed to do the build out, to get the building to where it is now.
Long Beach City College from 1927 on were noted as state champions, national champions, and so we have this tremendous legacy, and we felt by highlighting athletes who have gone on to be successful in their careers, not necessarily in athletics, but in life, that to highlight them would be an inspiration to our students. The original servers at the meal were students, so that they got to see these people, many of them icons in our city. And so that was the initial idea in 2002.
You know, there are really a couple things that put a smile on my face when I reflect on the meaning of tonight's ceremony. One is the legacy of the Hall of Champions, and specifically tonight's ceremony indicates that the college really still cares about the people who have passed through that hall, because they really represent the best of what Viking athletics is all about. Hard work, talent, dedication, excellent academics, and good citizenship. Great people up on those walls.
I think one of the special things about our Hall of Champions is a real nice display of the plaques of our past inductees. And currently we have about 175 that we've inducted. And we've got a big inventory of many more to consider, because we've had tremendous success through the years with people. And so I'm proud of all of these plaques that are displayed on the walls where people can come. And with each photo, there's a little description of what they contributed athletically to Long Beach City College.
It also serves as a role model for our current students, because we have all different kinds from the very beginning, with very diversity on our athletic teams. And so kids can come in here, current students come in here and look at the pictures and say, oh wow, look at basketball state champions, football national champions, swimming Olympic champions, and they can really be motivated to see how successful we have been in the athletic program.
Everybody will be able to relate to what's in this hall. It has a great history, nearly 100 years as an institution at Long Beach City College. And for those individuals who grace the halls and future student athletes who will grace the halls, it's going to remain something very special.
We can have our past athletes, our alumni, visit this campus, walk in here, and reflect back on the great memories they've had. They can see their teammates. Maybe they're not displayed up here, but they know they were a part of that person's success and that team's success. Because this not only this hall not only focuses on individuals, but there's banners hanging around that reflect upon teams. And so for every year that's put up there for a team championship, state championship, there's probably 20 or it could be 60 or 70 on a football team that can say, I'm up there, I'm part of this. And so I think it's a very nice place. I would like to think that these athletes will visit with their kids and their grandkids and say, here, look at this. And that just brings me a great joy.
At this time, I'd like to invite to the stage Long Beach City College Board of Trustee Dr. Virginia Baxter and Superintendent President Dr. Mike Munoz to officially welcome you this evening. We are truly thankful for the outstanding executive support provided to Viking Athletics. They are true champions of student success, and I personally appreciate their continued leadership efforts on behalf of our student athletes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Ginny Baxter and Dr. Mike Munoz.
Thank you, Randy. Good evening and welcome. I wish we were on campus, but that video really did a wonderful explanation of the Hall of Champions. I have the honor to represent the Board of Trustees at this Hall of Champions event, the 17th induction ceremony for our student athletes. President Entuck sends his regrets that he was not able to attend this evening. On behalf of the LBCC Board of Trustees, we congratulate each of the recipients, the men and women who have achieved this status at our college. We celebrate their many contributions to sport and their continuing contributions to their alma mater. I also want to thank everyone for attending tonight. As the former executive director of the foundation, your support is truly important to our students. Again, congratulations, and have a good evening, and thanks for attending.
Thank you, Dr. Baxter. Well, good evening, everyone. Hello, Viking family. On behalf of our students, faculty, staff, I want to welcome you to Long Beach City College's annual induction banquet for the Hall of Champions. My name is Dr. Mike Munoz, and I have the great privilege of serving as the superintendent president of this amazing institution. It really is a privilege to be able to honor the former athletes, coaches, and support personnel who have contributed to LBCC's great athletic tradition. For the people who we are recognizing tonight, not only were they LBCC champions, they are life champions too. Let's give them a round of applause. We have learned so much from your excellent illustration of teamwork, perseverance, diligence, and respect that makes LBCC's athletic program one of the best in the state. Athletic programs are a big part of campus life at LBCC, not just for athletes, but for our coaches and our whole entire community, and their families and friends as well, who look at the many successes of playing on the field, the courts, and on the track, and in the pool as a point of pride. I'm very proud of Long Beach City College's legacy, and that it's recognized throughout California as both an academic and athletic leader. So again, congratulations to all the honorees, and go Vikings.
How about one more big round of applause for our executive support at Long Beach City College? Tonight's meal is brought to you. Obviously, we're at the Grand, so we want to say thank you to the Grand, and I would like to invite you to enjoy your meal and fellowship amongst your table and those around you. And yes, the bar is still open. All right. My first least favorite thing tonight. That just reminded me we have a wedding down the hall, but I'm not going to kiss anybody. So that, as I was saying, my first least favorite thing tonight was asking those of you in that long line for the bar to get out of line and come into the banquet hall. My second least favorite thing is to stop you from the conversation that you're having right now. But we would like to move along with our program, so thank you. As a former Long Beach City College student athlete, head coach, athletic director, and now dean of kinesiology and athletics, it is truly an honor to be connected to the great history of our college and this ceremony. Putting on a major event like this is a collaborative effort that takes a lot of hard work, and I must take a moment to recognize some important groups and individuals. First, I would like to ask everyone who helped plan, coordinate, and set up this event to please stand and be recognized. And there's a lot of big people in the back that need to stand and be recognized. Flowers. I'm not done. Among this amazing group, and I'm pointing in her direction, there's a key individual that must be acknowledged separately, as without her, this event would not happen. Many of our honorees have been in direct contact with her for over 2 years. I would like to personally thank Christy Lutz for her tireless dedication to making tonight both special and a success. Next, as a tribute of our shared history, I would like to acknowledge a group of individuals who forged a foundation for athletic excellence and who continue the tradition set forth by their predecessors. Could all past and current LBCC coaches, staff, and administrators please stand and be recognized. Finally, I would like any past Hall of Champions inductees, yes, I'm staring at you, Greg, to stand and be recognized. We have some special guests with us tonight who I would like to introduce individually. Some of them you have already been introduced to tonight. First, our elected officials for Long Beach City College, Board of Trustee Jenny Baxter, and Student Trustee Richard Blackman. I would be remiss not to recognize former trustee and current Long Beach Unified School District Board member, Mr. Doug Otto. We are very fortunate to have members of the Long Beach City College executive team here in attendance tonight. Let's recognize, please stand, Superintendent President Dr. Mike Munoz, Vice President of Student Support Services, Dr. Noel Corral, Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Lee Douglas, and Executive Director of the Foundation, Mr. Paul Kaminsky. Thousands of athletes and scores of coaches have passed through the Long Beach City College since 1927. The 8 inductees in the class of 2022 tonight are among our most accomplished Vikings. They have distinguished themselves and brought great pride to their families, their community, and to those of us here at Long Beach City College. Our Hall of Champions gives way to remember and honor the past, while at the same time inspiring and guiding our current Vikings. To present this year's class of inductees, I'm excited to introduce an outstanding new addition to the Viking family, our Director of Athletics, Mr. Cal Stewart.
How's everybody doing tonight? All right. So to get started, we'd like to honor Miss Sia Cobb, Women's Aquatics, 2002 to 2004. Our first inductee tonight is very fitting, as the word first seems connected to her accomplishments. Alicia Cobb, or Sia, was a standout water polo player at Long Beach City College from 2002 to 2004. In 2003, this first team All South Coast Conference, first team All State, and first team All American athlete went on to lead the Vikings to capture their first women's water polo state championship title. Chris Oding had this to say about Sia. As a player, Sia was a coach's dream, as she excelled at playing many possessions in the pool. Typically, someone considered an all-around or utility player means they don't have the ability to dominate at any position, but not Sia. She could play in front of the goal at center, on the perimeter, as an attacker, or defend the other team's best player, and be elite at all of those positions. She was exhausting to other teams and created an impossible challenge to opposing coaches to try to contain her. As a person, Sia is courageous, honest, generous, funny, and authentic. And at times, Coach said, a little too authentic. The way that Sia has lived her life after leaving Long Beach City College, we're grateful and thankful for the fact that she is being recognized and inducted here tonight. Sia, congratulations from Coach Oding and the water polo family, and thanks for believing in us like we did and believed in you so many years ago. Escorting Sia to the stage is Rachel Westfall, a second-year aquatic student athlete majoring in educational development. She is concurrently attending Long Beach State, where she plans to continue her academic and athletic career. We are honored to induct Miss Sia Cobb.
Thank you so much. Wow, I didn't expect to get emotional. Thank you, Mom. I wouldn't be here without you. Thank you to my coaches, Casa and Oding. I wouldn't be here without you guys either. Thank you to the committee. It's an honor. I love Long Beach City. Coming to Long Beach, I remember it vividly. I remember my first meeting with Rourke O'Leary as my athletic counselor and going through my schedule. I remember the amazing bunnies that you guys had on campus. It was such a wonderful experience. I think with the coaching, we had world-class coaching. We have Chris Oding, who is an Olympian, team captain. He's an Olympic coach right now. We have Casa, who has moved on to Whittier and within a few seasons already captured a Division III championship. I wish my coaches lasted with me throughout my whole college career. If they ever start an adult club team, I would definitely join. Some of my memories on campus after morning practice every morning, my fellow Hall of Champion honor, Cassie back there, we used to go to the cafeteria in the morning and grab our breakfast burritos, and we had a guy that hooked us up with breakfast burritos, because I heard they're pre-made nowadays. Back then, they made them from scratch, and we waited for the one guy that got us extra tots in our burritos, and it was the best after morning practice. I vividly remember having psychology with Professor Shaw, and he would catch us in the cafeteria getting our breakfast burritos. He would come up to us, and he used to ask who we're playing that week or whatever, and he used to shake my hand so hard. And he would just shake it, and we'd just sit there and talk, and he'd just above a whisper, he'd be talking to me, but shaking, good luck, I hope you score some goals. Loved his class, loved him as a person. And through my professional career, after leaving Long Beach, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to work at a city college. I want to work at a community college. I absolutely loved my time there. I'm now a high school counselor. I had the opportunity, I used to be a high school counselor at a neighboring school up in Paramount High School. And so it was really a pleasure to come back to Long Beach as a professional, to come to the counselor breakfast and see all of the amazing things that Long Beach has done with the campus. When I was there, we didn't have a pool, and so we used to have to run Veterans Stadium in the morning, and Oding would do it with us, and sometimes he'd make the girls cry. He's running down the stairs backwards. But it's really neat to come. It's really neat to come back and see the amazing CTE programs that you guys have with your culinary arts and your nursing. It was awesome working at Paramount and bragging about the school that I went to and that I was a part of, and all of the amazing things that you guys have. I was partial to sending all my students to Long Beach City when I was in Paramount. Yeah, so when we got Lulu on our campus as a college rep, I was really excited to have some representation there because I think Long Beach has done so much. The campus is beautiful. I loved going back and seeing all the things that you guys did. Thank you so much for inducting me. It was some of the best years of my life. I have lifelong friends between Cassie and a former teammate, Ashley, my coaches. Thank you everybody.
Let's give another round of applause for Miss Sia Cobb. Our next inductee, a Long Beach native, has devoted his career to the sport of baseball, from LBCC to UCLA and on to the pros. The Detroit Tigers' 8th round draft pick, Vern Followell, has had experience and an impact at all levels of the sport. While a Viking, he earned second team conference selections in both 1976 and 1977. Vern compiled a minor league career batting average of .260 with 17 home runs and 269 RBIs in his 788-game career. Vern's talent and expertise led him to spend a career as a professional scout and for the Minnesota Twins, retiring as a pro scouting coordinator. Escorting Vern to the stage today is freshman baseball student athlete Ryan Guerrero. Ryan is a kinesiology major with plans to return to Long Beach City College for his sophomore season and capturing the South Coast Conference Championship. Put your hands together for Mr. Vern Followell.
So I got a speech. I hope I don't stick to it. I have a new suit. Now it's 2 years old. This is quite an unexpected honor for me. I want to thank the committee for the recognition and extend congratulations to the other inductees. Special thanks to Christy for all the work she put in. She had to do this twice, so that's a tough deal. I've never been one to look back on my career all that much, but when you're lucky enough to have or to get an award like this, you tend to look back and reflect and figure out how you got to this place. It's pretty easy to think, well, geez, I worked hard, I made a lot of great decisions, and I did real well, and here I am. But I came to realize in the end it was certain people along the way that the family, the friends, coaches, teammates that gave you great advice specifically and exactly when you needed it. And a lot of those people are here tonight. So I'd like to recognize those people. They're over here at table 6, most of them. In January, it's been a couple of months since I've just retired from scouting. And it turns out I'm pretty suited to retirement, which is nice. But as I look back, before that, everything that came before, 33 years in scouting, 7 years as a pro player, 2 years at UCLA, and before that I was here at Long Beach City. Everything started here, and it was one of the most crucial decisions and the luckiest things that ever happened to me. When I left high school, I was unheralded. I wasn't recruited and translated. That means I wasn't very good, actually. But I was lucky enough, me and my friend Ken Compton over here, we played for the Long Beach Rockets, which is a semi-pro team at Blairfield. And we played with ex-pros and current pros, and it was a great experience. One of those guys was Randy Rasmussen, who was a character, at least. But he was a little bit of a mentor, and he was a little bit of a bad influence, which is kind of the best kind of mentor. But when I was there, it was before my senior year, and he invited me to play in Canada, of all places. And at that time, I guess he had some connection or something up there. But Canadian baseball wanted to enhance their baseball programs. So there was more or less town ball, and you could have 3 imports, which were Americans at every level. And I went with a couple of Long Beach State guys. When I went and asked my family, hey, I want to go to Canada, go play summer ball out of high school. I was 17. They said, okay. They didn't even ask any questions, which worried me a little bit. But there I go, and I'm off to Canada. I left a couple weeks early. I needed to get up there, so I missed graduation, and my friend Kenny Lee Compton over here took my girlfriend to graduation, walked her, and that was nice. But I get to up to Canada, and I'm playing there. It's more or less town ball with 3 Americans. But the good thing was when you went to a tournament, there was no restriction, so we had all the Americans play together, and we won every tournament. It was great. But one of the guys, I was in Two Hills, Alberta, with 2 college guys from Long Beach State. They were more of bad influence and mentors. And Dan Peters over here, of all people, and Randy Rasmussen were in St. Paul. And by the way, St. Paul has a UFO landing pad behind home plate. So when they land, it will be in St. Paul. But Dan was there, and Randy Rasmussen got me up there. And one of the things that happened is that I played there all summer. I came back home. We all drove back up to play in a year-end tournament in Kamloops. The competition was a little better there, and we lost 2 games. But I remember the night we lost the second game, we had a session somewhere, and whether you win or lose in Canada, you celebrate. So we had a meeting, and there was Dan and Randy trying to convince me not to go to Long Beach State, which I was planning on going with my friend Ken Compton. And they claimed, I just called Bobby Myers, who was the new coach. Joe Hicks, the legend, had retired. Bobby Myers has taken over. Hey, I just called him, you're in. I think they lied to me, right? They didn't call anybody. They didn't call anybody. Anyway, I said, yeah, that sounds like the right thing to do. But at the time, when me and Ken were going over to Long Beach, it seemed like a better place to go because they were worse than Long Beach City. So at any rate, I agree to go to Long Beach City, and I come home, I leave my buddy in the lurch because he was going to Long Beach City, or he was going to Long Beach State, and I said, I'm not going. I get home on the first day of classes. I go over to Long Beach City. Bobby Myers buys me a Coke by the gym there and says, here's your scholarship. He takes me across the street. He gets me my classes. I'm in. So we have a good team. And I want to make sure I mention Bobby Myers, who is one of the best coaches and greatest human beings I played for. And also Mike Davis, who was great with young players. But we had a nice team, and it was chaotic at the start because we had 1 million guys there. Everybody thought it was a great opportunity. Now that Joe Hicks left, they thought new regime, they're going to come in. We had 100 guys out there. So Bobby cut everybody that could hit, and all we were left with was a bunch of guys that could catch and throw it, but we had Greg Harris. And Greg Harris was 18-4. He lost 4 games, and I think we scored 2 runs in those games. But we had a good team. We won the state championship. I want to recognize my friend Brad Johnson came from Colorado. He was on that state championship team, and I appreciate him coming. Thanks, Brad. So it was a good team, but the other turning point, really one of the points is that everything that came after my decision to go to Long Beach State was because I made that decision. And the final game of the year, that's the best the Press Telegram could do. That was after we won the state championship game. And we had a guy pitch, Ken Price. He was a pretty good pitcher, or good guy, pitched the first game. He threw 12 or 15 ground balls or whatever, and I got 12 of them. It just so happened that Gary Adams, Mike Girakis from UCLA were there. They said, we need a shortstop. A week later, I get a call after that game. We win the championship. They say, do you want to go to Alaska? I go play in Alaska with some of the best players in the country. I'm not sure I belong there, but I was there. And at the end of that summer, he said, you can come to UCLA if you want after your sophomore year. I will tell you, I think I read the pamphlet at the end of the year, and I was most promising freshman at Long Beach City when we won the state championship, and I had a nice year. If they had the most disappointing sophomore, I might have got that the next year. I wasn't a great player at that point, but by incrementally, I got better and better. So I got to go to UCLA, and I played, I had a bad year the first year. But I'd like to recognize my brother Lance. My brother Frank couldn't be here. But all those games, silly games you play when you're a youngster, it was one of the things that helped me. As my senior year, I decided I'm going to be a switch hitter. But the Nerf ball games with the cue stick or whatever, you acquire some skills that you don't know if you're going to use them, but it turns out that was pretty important because that was my best year in history as a baseball player, my senior at UCLA. It led to me being drafted, and from there, I got at least the experience that might be included in, you can be a coach, pro coach, or a pro scout or whatever. At least I was qualified. You want to wrap it up? Not very subtle.
You know signs.
Thank you, thank you. I noticed you getting close. All right, I will go. I have to recognize my friend Kenny Lee Compton, my lifelong friend who, when it was time to be a scout, he recommended me to somebody, and I became a scout with the Twins, which led to 33 years in scouting. And if you remember the White Christmas, Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby, well, I'm Bing Crosby. And Danny Kaye saved him from the falling building. And for 33 years, I've dealt with that arm. He gives me the boo-boo lip, and man, you saved my life. I owe you my life. Thank you very much. I need to make it public. Thank you.
Let's offer Vern another round of applause. So our next inductee, a Lakewood Lancer like so many others in the house, came to LBCC in 1985 and left his mark on the sport of track and field and cross country. Dr. Richard Graves still holds the LBCC college record in the 5,000 meter. A two-time NCAA All-American, finishing 5th in NCAA track and field finals in 1988. Dr. Graves has a love for running and continued running after college, and he was a 3-time qualifier and a finisher in the Boston Marathon. Coach Ron Alice, during LBCC's 15-year historic run, is quoted as saying, "I found him literally laying bricks. I asked him to come out and train and compete, and he was immediately successful. We had only 2 men qualify during the year, and Richard was one of them. Richard was one of the finest young men and one of my favorite student athletes to come through the program." Escorting Dr. Graves is freshman cross-country track and field student athlete Leo Acevedo. Leo is majoring in the physical sciences. I think he wants to build rockets or go to outer space, and plans to return to LBCC to compete for a cross-country and track and field state championship next season. Please help me welcome Dr. Richard Graves to the stage.
Thank you. This is pretty amazing. This doesn't happen every day. I'm sorry if I cry. Thank you to everybody on the committee and everybody who made this possible. Thank you, Christy, for putting all this together. My time at Long Beach City College is what got me to part of what got me to where I am now. It's just, I don't know what to say. I want to basically recognize everybody who's at that table back there, table 21. It's the guys' table with everybody talking about running. Sorry, Donna. Donna's my stepmom. I'm very happy that she's here, and my dad is there. My dad, I haven't seen him cry very many times, but one of the times was after the state championships at Mount Sac, which we won, and that was the night I set the school record. I went up to the stands, and my dad was crying. And there's a couple of my best friends there. Drew Sells, one of my best running buddies, and he's famous in Long Beach area for playing golf and playing golf at UCI, but probably everybody recognizes him for being a bartender at Joe Jost. Yeah. And then we also have Bernard Dean Mills, who's a legend in the local running community, but more of a legend for being sitting on a bar stool at Joe Jost. And then also, I have my 3 coaches back there. There's about, if I say 150 years of running coaching experience, I'm cutting it short. If I said 200 years of experience, I'm not exaggerating by very much. So I only didn't say 200 because I didn't want to make him feel too old. But so I'm going to go before and after. But the coach who got me to be a great runner, Jeff Tribley, who's sitting back there, coached me at Lakewood, helped coach me at City when I was working full time and couldn't train with the team all the time. But he turned me into a great runner, made me believe that I could be a great runner, and for sure I wouldn't be standing here without him. And then after, Coach O'Boyle, who was my coach at UC Irvine, turned me into an All-American runner, an even better runner, and really spurred me on to even better things after that. Thanks, Vince. And then getting back to the middle, Coach Ron Alice at Long Beach City College. So he said he found me laying bricks, and that's kind of true. I actually kind of found him. So Coach Alice recruited me out of high school, and I kind of big timed him a little bit and said, no, I'm not going to City College. I'm going to 4-year school. And that lasted about a year, and I was injured and homesick, and I ended up coming back home and dropped out of school, and I had a job working for a construction company doing brickwork and masonry. And it didn't take very more than a few months of that when I realized that that's not what I wanted to do with my entire life. So I had to get back into school, and running was my best course to do that. And one September day it rained, which is probably, that was 1985. It's probably the last time it rained in Long Beach in September. So that day I got my guts up and I walked into the track room at Long Beach City College, and just to inquire about possibly running track the following spring. And I was only there a couple minutes, and Coach Alice comes in. He says, "Big guy, you don't need to run track, you need to run cross country right now." Cross country season was starting. He wanted me to start running. I was working full time. I said, "Coach, I'm working full time. I'm engaged. I got to make money. How am I going to be able to run? How am I going to be able to go to school?" He said, "Coach, this is Long Beach City College. You don't have to go to class." That's a little bit of an exaggeration. So, walking it back. So, Coach got me set up. I did go to class. He helped me get credits for the work that I was doing, and I went to class. And I did run cross country that year, and I worked full time. But what Coach Alice did for me, get me back in the program, and I was kind of walked in there with my tail between my legs after, not accepting his invitation to Long Beach City right out of high school. Then he welcomed me back with open arms and got me in the program. And I ran cross country and went on to track, and that's where all the big things happened. Got me into a university again, and I owe all of that to Long Beach City College and Coach Alice. Thank you.
One more round of applause for Dr. Richard Graves. So, accepting on behalf of Mark Robbins, it is an honor to invite a Hall of Champion and legendary icon in the sport of track and field, Coach Ron Alice, to the podium. Ron Alice, during the second state championship, coming down the line to the wire, said, "If they keep this up, they're gonna make an old man out of me." Well, Ron, we're proud to have brought such a vibrant and energetic coach back to Long Beach City College. Ron brings a level of excellence and experience that has had an immediate and lasting impact on the program, the city, and the community. Escorting Ron to the stage is freshman football student athlete Jacob Belton. Jacob plans to return to help win the SCFA championship next season. Coach, you like to say a few words?
This is about Mark Robbins. Unable to be here today. I'm going to cover two sports because he was more than one sport athlete. His contributions to the program and the people he touched are still lasting today. I'll start with track and field. He went to Linwood High School, came out of Linwood High School, went over to El Camino College, and wanted to go out for football. They told him he was too small. He'd have to wait a year and hit the weight room before they would let him come out. He came to Long Beach City. He brought a guy named Brian Stanton with him, also from the same high school. Both of them certainly improved under the watchful eye of a Hall of Famer that we have here by the name of Baruch Elias, who was a very, very special coach. And Mark went 2.5, 3 feet of improvement and became a key part of our program. His partner, Brian Stanton, ended up jumping 7'6" in the high jump and improved almost a foot. So you can see what quality of coaching all of you that are being introduced tonight had while they were here at Long Beach City College. Just a couple of things, and I will address about Mark, in that it was our second year, in 1980. We won the first championship in 79, and it was 80, and we looked like we were going to win it again. What happened was the person that was the scorekeeper confused two G's, Glendale College and Grossmont, and added their points together. Then we got a couple of disqualifications and some things went awry, and all of a sudden the announcer said, Long Beach is about to lose this meet. That didn't set well with Mark. He came down and got a key second place. We won the meet when they found out what the score is all about. So he kept everything. It came down to the triple jump. He performed. Now I'm going to address a little bit about what he did in football. And I'm going to put my glasses on now because you have to give statistics around here in order to show somebody's worth. Okay. And we also won the GPA award on occasion. All right, to football and to Mark and his contribution. There was a quote from some guy named, I'll save it for later, that he was one of the most explosive getaway threats in community college, okay? He was a wide receiver. In his 1980 season, he had 26 catches for 574 yards, 7 TDs, and one for 98 yards. He did not finish the season because in the LA Valley game, he caught a 2-point conversion and blew his knee. That's how good he was. Okay, his receiver coach happened to be a guy by the name of Earl McCullough. Not a bad athlete, okay? Since he was a world record holder in the high hurdles, he also was a pretty good football player since he was a starting receiver at that school up on Figueroa. And in addition to that, he decided not to go to the Olympic Games in Mexico City, signed a pro contract, and was Rookie of the Year for the Detroit Lions. So he knows a little bit about football and was a very good coach. His statement in the newspaper, he's the best young receiver I've seen in a long time. He'll have a choice of whatever school he wants to go to. He could be a first-round pick someday, but his knee never recovered. What did he do? He came back and coached. Now, I have a letter here, 2 pages, about having had the chance to work with the coaches in football that have been at this school over the years. Most of them are inducted into this Hall of Fame, where men spent their entire career coaching here, not moving on. And the young people that they influenced, this is one. He then came back and coached here and was part of the team in 95 that won the national championship. And he's wanted to say thank you, Long Beach City College. Thank you for a chance to work with the people that were responsible for his athletic achievements. Mark Revens, 2 events, football, track and field. I bet by the way his family, they would stand, his 2 daughters and son-in-law.
All right, folks, it's almost halftime. You're going to need it because our next inductee is no stranger to records, setting a record this evening with the most tables and attendees at tonight's event. Derek Santifer, who attended 1985 and 1986, was the first team All-Conference and Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1985, and in 1986, he was All-Conference, All-American, All-State, Defensive Player of the Year, and Long Beach City College MVP. Derek transferred to San Diego State with a scholarship to continue his playing career in 1987 and 88. Santifer has spent his career as a materials coordinator of the LA refining division of Phillips 66 for 23 years. Coach Mike Maloney is quoted as saying, "He possessed all the attributes you look for in an outside linebacker: smart, athletic, a knack for making big plays, and outstanding leadership." Escorting Derek tonight is freshman football student athlete Hagen Foreman. Hagen is majoring in kinesiology and will return next season in hopes of graduating and transferring to his dream university. Please offer a raucous round of applause for Mr. Derek Santifer.
Good evening, everyone. I am Derek Santifer, and for those of you who still think I'm Samuel L. Jackson, I am not. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and not just for this honor tonight, but for blessing me with a great family, great friends, awesome co-workers at Phillips 66, and so many other people that have come into my life that are my friends as well. I appreciate that you all came out this evening for me. I want to thank the Hall of Champions Selection Committee and Long Beach City College for allowing my name to be added to the rich tradition of excellence in athletics that is Long Beach City College. I want to thank my mom and dad, two amazing parents that gave three boys in the mean streets of Carson, California, everything they wanted growing up. My parents attended every game, rain or shine. My dad was my biggest fan, and he would be so elated if he were still with us today to be here tonight. My mom is the queen of my heart and my road dog. My mom worked for over 30 years with LA County. She was a team mother on all my junior All-American teams. She ran the household, even though she let my dad think he was in charge. And she's still my personal unpaid life counselor to this day. And I love my mom. The funny thing about it is we've gone full circle. We've gone from the Friday night lights at Banning High School football to Friday nights drinking coffee and watching HGTV, right? 360. I want to thank my children, Cheyenne and Christian, for putting up with their grumpy dad. I know it's hard sometimes, but it comes from a good place of just wanting you guys to be successful in life. My daughter's currently a student at LBCC. She's been on a dean's list. She works a full-time job at American Honda. And my son is a senior at UCLA and will be graduating this June. So I'm proud of both of them, and I love them dearly. And then there's the fellas. That's what we call ourselves. We're kind of like Earth's mightiest homies. We've been together since we were 8 years old. We played together. We got in trouble together. And we did that our whole lives. And we're still together to this day. I love them, and I appreciate that they're always just a homie call away. I love you guys. The reason I came to Long Beach City in the first place is because I wanted to be like my friends. They were all first-team All-City players in high school, and I just wanted to be like them. So I came to City, and I work hard, and any success that I had at City, I totally owe to them. So I love them, and I'll love them till the day I die. If you had told me 37 years ago that I would be inducted into the Hall of Champions with all the great athletes that have come through Long Beach City, including one of my Raider heroes, Mr. Greg Townsend, I would have said, yeah, right. But here I am, and it still seems surreal. If I had to pinpoint my most memorable experience of being at Long Beach City, it wouldn't be any of the athletic or academic achievements that I've received. It wouldn't even be going to my first play with my arts appreciation class, sitting in the front row and watching Charlton Heston act out the Caine Mutiny trial and having the privilege of shaking his hand afterwards. It wouldn't even been that. It would have been pushing Greg Townsend around, a makeshift track in the center of the student area, and a soapbox car in an intramural event. That was my highlight of being at Long Beach City. Raider Nation! To all my coaches over the years, beginning with the incomparable Mr. Frank Brown, my All-American Pop Warner coach, who was the architect of making boys into men. To the legendary Mr. Chris Ferragamo, sitting right here tonight at Banning High School, who sang, "Enthusiasm is a force that creates momentum," still resonates with me to this day. And I love you, Coach. I love you for coming. And I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't mention my sixth grade teacher, Mr. Luther Whitsitt, who preached the importance of education to me at an early age. All of these people were notable in my life at some point, and I appreciate and love all of them. So I'm just going to move on to Long Beach City College real quick, and I'm going to talk about our head coach, the Sultan of Psychology, Coach Will Shaw. Now, for those who never had the chance to meet Coach Shaw, Coach Shaw is a very intimidating and imposing human being. And he's every bit of 6'5", wasted few words, and wore a poker face most of the time. So Gary, my friend Gary, introduced me to Coach Shaw when Coach Shaw was walking down the athletic hallway in a karate gi with a black belt on. So Coach Shaw walks up to me, and Gary introduced me to him. He said, "Hey, Coach Shaw, I have a new recruit for you, Derek Sanford, linebacker, Banning High School, blah, blah, blah." And Coach Shaw looked at me and he said all of 6 words to me. Just 6, and I'll never forget him. He looks at me and says, in Will Shaw fashion, "Okay, but are you any good?" So I said, "I think so, Coach." So he said 2 more words that I'll never forget. He leaned back into me, stuck his hand out for me to shake, and said, "We'll see." Next thing I know, he disappeared, just walked away. From that moment on, I knew it was going to take a lot to impress Coach Shaw. But hopefully over those 2 years that I played for him, I did. The complete opposite of Coach Shaw was Coach Murphy. Coach Murph was 0 to 100. There was no in-between speeds with Coach Murph. Coach Murph would often leave our practice field bloodier than most of our players because he was a master technician, and he wouldn't tell you how to do your technique. He would get down and show you. He would go heads up with our offensive scout team with no helmet on and often walk around with blood dripping from the bridge of his nose. You had to understand Coach Murph, but once you did and understood the method to his madness, you couldn't help but love the guy. And I love him to this day. And I miss him dearly, especially for a night like this, as I know a lot of other people here do too. The rest of the coaches, we had Coach Clune and we had Coach Maloney, both great coaches in their own right. But more than that, we're still friends to this day. That's the special bond that we had in Long Beach City. And we had Coach McCullough, we had Coach Ford, we had Coach Charlie Williams, we had Mike, our trainer. We had some great people that made my whole time at Long Beach City one of the greatest experiences of my life. I'm kind of stuck right now because I'm sorry, I was thinking about Murph, what he would say today. If I could go back and do it again, there's no other place I'd rather go than to Long Beach City. I mean, I had a nice time when I went to San Diego State and got to travel to a bunch of different places, but this place was special to my heart because there were so many people there that cared about you and loved you. And still, like I said, those bonds still last through today. I don't remember a lot about my playing days because I get an AARP card now. So the one thing I do remember is I played on 2 great defenses. My second year defense was the greatest defense I ever played on because 8 of our defensive starters made first team all conference. And that was no small feat in the Metro League because this was the best conference in the nation. 2 of those players are my fellow Banning alumni, Mr. Bruce Young and Mr. Brian Williams, who preceded me in the hall today. Every Saturday, we brought the pain to whatever team we played. And the one thing I can tell you, on the front end of our defense, we feared no one. The only thing we feared on the front end of that defense was not getting the ball carrier down fast enough before our indiscriminate, colorblind free safety, Bruce, will come in and wipe out anything still standing in the vicinity of the ball carrier, including the referee. Like I said, I appreciate this honor. It was good to be here with a bunch of friends and then so many people to come and enjoy themselves tonight and spend time with me and make me feel special about years gone by. But I'm so glad that you all came out. And this is very special to me. Thank you so much.
That was a bit of a tearjerker. Our next inductee, Dr. Grant Uba, who was a physician for Long Beach City College from 1992 to 2018, has performed treatments on Long Beach City College student athletes, coaches, staff, faculty, and administrators for the last 25 years as the team physician of all sports. Dr. Uba served on the Long Beach Boys and Girls Club as a member and chair, in addition to being a Dream Maker Award recipient and trustee of the Ronald McDonald House. Mary Aha quotes, "He is a philanthropist first, generous beyond the ultimate measure of generosity." I have it on good authority from friend and colleague Mary Aha that Dr. Uba is known to be a fierce competitor, even when he's the only one keeping score. But that's him. Even though he was an athletic trainer, Dr. Uba was known to incur more injuries off the field than some of his athletes on the field. In Mary's professional opinion, Dr. Uba's soft tissue was no different than his hard tissue. Regardless, Dr. Uba was a treat to play with and be around. Grant demonstrated nothing but loyalty, even as Dan Bailey at Cal State Long Beach was trying to steal him. Dr. Uba's mission has been to serve the underserved and always find a way to get it done, whether that was pro bono physicals, medicine, or treatment. Dr. Uba's work was a labor of love. We want to thank Dr. Uba for his mentorship and lasting impact on the city of Long Beach and LBCC. Please welcome Dr. Grant Uba to the stage. Escorting Dr. Grant Uba is Mary Aha, senior athletic trainer, friend, and 30-year colleague at Long Beach City College.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I want to thank Mary Aha for walking up with me because I figure they felt that I would get injured on the way up, so thank you very much. Might need treatment later, but I'm okay. I'm humbled to stand before you in the company of so many accomplished athletes. I think I bring down the athletic prowess percentage down probably 50%. 32 years ago, Dr. John Kashawabara gave me his medical practice with two conditions. He said, take good care of my patients and be an active member of the community. I want to thank you, and I want to thank Debbie, my wife, for allowing me and my family to be part of the Long Beach City College community, which has ultimately become part of my family. During a Viking home game, I was standing with my 6-year-old daughter, and she told me she thought of a play. She told me that during the kickoff return, all the players should come together, and then the other team wouldn't know who had the ball. She told me to tell that to Coach Reisbig, Larry Reisbig, and it was during the middle of the game, and she thought it would be the right time to tell him right then. I didn't tell him. At a Palomar game, my son was about 7 or 8, and he was a water boy. Long Beach City College had just scored a touchdown, and I told my son, hey, go and retrieve the point after. So we went back there, back of the end zone, this little kid, and he watches the ball go through the uprights. He catches a ball. He runs off the field like he just scored a touchdown with a hand in the air, and the players gave him high fives on the sideline. I mean, those are fantastic memories. I've learned many lessons while being at Long Beach City College, and here are my top 3. Lesson number 1, don't ask too many questions. Mike Owens, a trainer, and I were doing physicals. A massive guy, football player came in, an even more massive tattoo on him. Mike goes, hey, where did you get that tattoo? He said, San Quentin. It takes all types. We take them all. Lesson number 2, some things you can't unsee. I was driving, I'd finished a bunch of physicals, tired, driving through the parking lot trying to go home, and one of the staff, I will remain unnamed, came running up to my car and said, hey, roll down your window. I want to show you a rash. I said, okay. Rolled down my window. He pulled down his pants and stuck his butt in my window. Can't unsee that. Lesson number 3, and this is what I think what Long Beach City College Athletics does best. I was doing a physical on a soccer player, and I asked her what she wanted to do after she finished college. She said she wanted to be a physical therapist. I told her that that was awesome. She, as an athlete, she'd know what it was like to, work with patients, and it would be fantastic. And I told her that we had fantastic trainers like Mary Aha, and they could show her all kinds of stuff and really get her moving along her way to achieve her goal. She told me she was the first in her family to go to college. And I said, fantastic. Then she said that her parents didn't want her to go to college. And they asked her if she thought she was better than them. That's what Long Beach City College does best. We embrace our students and student athletes. We give them a home and a family. We nurture and guide them so they could become the best they could be. My family and I are blessed to be part of this big, beautiful family. Thank you.
Get one more round of applause for Dr. Grant Uba. We're starting the wind down, folks. We are starting the wind down. With that being said, it has been a very crazy and complicated year with COVID-19. Thank you for making it today. While Kristen Wintrick could not be here today to accept this honor, I would like to tell you about how amazing she is. While at LBCC, Kristen dominated at the service line as second in the state for aces, 1 per game, and tallied 345 total kills in a season. My volleyball people know what that's about. In 1996, Kristen was the South Coast Conference Co-Player of the Year. She helped lead the Vikings to back-to-back South Coast Conference championships. Kristen continued the momentum to complete her academic career and sits in the Sonoma State record books for services and aces in a season with a team that was also the North Coast Athletic Conference champion with an 11-1 conference record. She also assisted the Seawolves to the NCAC championship. Her Hall of Fame coach, Donna Prendle, said this about Kristen. Kristen is one of the most complete volleyball players ever to compete at LBCC. Sorry, Randy. She possessed amazing backcourt skills, solid passer, incredible defensive ability, and served an ace in every single game. In the front court, she helped power the offensive average of 3 kills per game. Imagine all of this ability packed into a 5'5" athlete. Volleyball has been described as the ultimate team sport. Each play depends on the culmination of efforts of each player that touches the ball. Pass, set, hit. I just learned that this year. With each player trying to improve on the other's play. Kristen was the key to the effort, not only because of her immense level of skill, but also because her supportive, positive, and awesome qualities as a teammate. To stand in for Kristen today, freshman and indoor beach volleyball student athlete Emma Pearson will receive tonight's award on behalf of Kristen. Emma is majoring in business administration with plans to return to Long Beach City College in hopes of capturing 2 league titles, then transferring to play at a 4-year level. Please join us in inducting Kristen Wintrick.
Thank you.
Even though she could not be here today, let's give one more round of applause to Christian Wintrip. And last but very not the least, in honor of Coach Jim Murphy tonight, it is my pleasure to invite Long Beach City College Hall of Champion 1977 and 78 to the stage, Mike Maloney. Mike has been a staple in the football community and athletic department for most of his career. A hard-hitting student athlete, championship coach, academic advisor, and 2016 Hall of Champion honoree himself, it is with much pleasure that I turn it over to Mike Maloney.
Yes, I have to put the glasses on. I'm getting up there myself. This is a tremendous honor on behalf of Jim Murphy's family. I think most of us in the room know that Jim unfortunately passed away 2 years ago, not long after I spoke with him and let him know that he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was very, very happy at that time. We're fortunate tonight to have Jim's family here with us. I'd like to recognize the family, introduce the family. First, Sherry, Jim's wife. Jim's 3 sons, Sean, Sean's wife Karen, and children Joel and Ty. Jim Murphy, Jim's wife Jenna, children Elizabeth and Jace, and Shay Murphy, Jim's 3rd son. As I mentioned, this is a tremendous honor to be able to speak on Jim's behalf. I was so touched earlier tonight by as many people that came up to me and were here because of Jim Murphy. I heard Derek Sandifer talk about how Murph was a great influence in his life. Any of us who have gone to school at Long Beach City College, who have worked on the campus of Long Beach City College for a long enough period that Jim was able to touch your lives, know how important this man was to the college. He has touched more students' lives at Long Beach City College than anybody I can think of. Ron Ellis and I spoke of how tremendous a person he was, how a whole lot of coaches would have been in bad shape if Coach Murphy wasn't there to bail them out. He didn't give kids grades, boy, and he'd rip their butts, but he made them work, and he would pass these kids, but he wanted these kids to do it on their own. Let me start with a short bio of Jim's life. He was also a great football player. He came to Long Beach City College and played football on our 1960 national championship team. In 1961, he was honored All-Metro Conference first team, honorable mention All-American. After Long Beach City College, he went to Whittier College, where he wrestled and played football. He immediately began a coaching career in 1964. Some of the many places he coached before he started at Long Beach City College in 1973. He started again, as I said, at Whittier College. From there, he went to Tustin High School, Morningside High School, Washington State University, Marina High School, and then his journey began at Long Beach City College in 1973. He was also a professor of biology and taught in our kinesiology department. He coached football at Long Beach City College from 1973 to 1992. He also coached wrestling at Long Beach City College from 1974 until 1984, when wrestling was dropped from our athletic program due to Title IX. He came back in 2003 when Jerry Jaso was the head football coach and coached again with us. Besides being a professor of biology, Jim served on numerous academic committees, was a master of our graduation ceremony for 25 years. I was fortunate. I transferred to Long Beach City College from Oklahoma State University in the spring of 1977. And Jim, Coach Murphy, I call him Murph, we all called him Murph, he was one of the football coaches. I also took him for biology. We've kind of went the full circle. I had him as a teacher. He was one of my coaches. And later on, when I was hired in 1986 as a defensive back coach, Jim Murphy was a defensive coordinator, so I worked for him. When he came back into coaching in 2002, I was a defensive coordinator, and he worked with me. So we went full circle, and he was a tremendous man, as most of you in this room can attest to. He was not just my teacher, not just my coach, but he was my friend. Now, he could be a hard ass. Those of you who played for him, man, you would get off the field and think, Murph hates me. Man, how can I ever please this man? His favorite line, move your ass. You got to get there. Move your ass. How many of us have heard that? Thank you. But he was the first guy when a recruiter came in, I don't care how bad you thought he was dogging you on the field, he sold more athletes to four-year colleges than any other coach I've ever worked with. He went out of his way, and it was a pride issue with him to make sure every one of our students received at least financial aid. Every one of our student athletes in football received at least financial aid, if not a full football scholarship at a four-year university. And I don't care if it was USC or a Division III school you'd never heard of, he worked just as hard for those kids. How many football players in this room that played for Coach Murphy? There's a whole bunch of us in here. On behalf of all of us who were players for Coach, all of us who were students for the Professor Murphy, and all of us who worked with him in other facets at the college, we want to thank the Murphy family for being here tonight to accept this award. It's a greatly deserved honor for Jim Murphy. I would like to bring up Coach Murphy's sons, Jim and Sean and Shay, at this time.
I'd like to also have student athlete Keanu Campbell to the stage. Keanu Campbell is a communication studies major who will rejoin the Vikings this season and plans to bring home a state championship before transferring to continue his academic and athletic career.
Absolutely. Here's one for Coach Murph.
Thank you to everyone coming. I was a little baby when he was coaching, so I see a lot of faces in the room. I don't know who any of you are, but I recognize all of you. And he was a man, he taught me a lot of things in life, but the biggest thing he taught me was his capacity for love was huge. And it taught me that and made me a better man. And so I hope it happened to everybody else. Thank you.
Put one more round of applause for Coach Murph. Thank you, Coach Maloney. So give me one more round of applause for our incredible class of Long Beach City College Hall of Champions. I have truly been moved by the memories, the stories, the laughter, and the tears that have been shared tonight. As we reflect on the past, it is equally important that we cultivate the present and prepare for the future. Before we close tonight, we would like to take a moment and give you an opportunity to support our Viking Athletic Club. This will help us truly, as I like to introduce Randy Gordon, a member of the Long Beach City College Foundation Board of Governors. Randy has served as the president and CEO of Long Beach Chamber of Commerce for 26 years, prior to his retirement in 2020. He has been very involved in serving our community on numerous boards. Randy is passionate about assisting nonprofits in meeting their goals and continuing to fulfill their mission by having a greater impact on our Long Beach community. Thank you, Randy, for all you do and for all that has been done for us tonight. Before I pass the mic to Randy, we thought it would be appropriate for you to hear from some of our current champions. Your Long Beach City College Vikings! Where's Matt? Where's Matt? Yeah!
You want to talk about champions?
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 Let's talk about being a champion.
I am a champion.
I am a champion.
I am a champion.
I am a champion.
Ja sam šampion.
I am a champion.
I am a champion.
I am a champion.
Yo soy una campeona. I am a champion.
It's not about the next 2 years, it's about the next 20.
What allows me to be a champion is you.
Clap 3 times if you can hear me. One more time. Clap 3 times if you can hear me. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the entire Hall of Champions committee, the athletic department, and Long Beach City College, I would truly like to thank you for being here tonight, for attending this great event, for your generous support to Table 1, our student athletes, and give a final congratulations as we install the Hall of Champions class of 2022. One more round of applause for your Long Beach City College Vikings!